Is next year's QB1 on the roster, or is Matt Sluka on the radar?
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we're going to take a little sneak peek, a little early peek at Kentucky. They take on Ole Miss this weekend. We'll see what kind of shot Vandy has in that matchup. That'll be an interesting one there. Vandy has a playmaker at quarterback committed for the 2026 year. He's the first commit of 2026, speaking of which. Also, speaking of the quarterback position, this episode is pretty much all about the quarterbacks. I want to know, is QB1 on the roster for QB1 for next year? Is he on the roster, or is Matt Sluka a possibility? Is he on the radar? Well, here's the situation, okay? Here's why I ask, okay? So we know the quarterback situation at Vandy, okay? If Diego Pavia can get another year, a final year, that would be the option at quarterback. Obviously, hands down. But we all know the quarterback situation at Vandy currently as we speak. It's a pretty loaded room, to be honest with you. So I'm going to answer this question. But I wanted to kind of get into the Matt Sluka situation as well, because I think it's interesting when it comes to NIL. I think regardless of whether he's on the roster or not, his situation and how it's kind of playing out and how that scenario is kind of growing and will continue to grow around college football. I think it's important that, in the age of NIL, that that what's going to happen, there's a new trend. And so Matthew Sluka is somebody that when Vandy was looking for quarterbacks in the portal, he was at Holy Cross last season. And he was actually somebody that I talked about on the show as being a possibility at the quarterback position. So he landed at UNLV. You can see they started 3-0. He is slinging the ball, literally slinging the ball. He's a good runner as well. I mean, he's balling out there at UNLV, and he's in the perfect scheme for what he does well. But those of you who've been following that situation, it's very, very interesting. And it's a situation where NIL is kind of dictating things, right? And there's a whole situation to where UNLV saying they did everything they could, but he's taking a redshirt year and he's going to enter the portal. He's basically left the program already because he's claiming that UNLV owed him or offered him, promised him $100,000 to enroll out of the portal, and he enrolled. And he still hasn't gotten paid. They offered him $3,000 a month, but like he said, that's not going to be enough. That's not going to cut it. That's not what the deal was. And so he left. So that's an interesting situation. It's kind of like a side avenue in NIL. So the moral of that part of the story is if you're going to promise it, deliver. Because if you don't deliver, the new age of NIL is if you don't deliver, boom, we're gone. Bear Alexander, USC defensive tackle, formerly of Georgia, gone. Matt Sluka's teammate, running back, same deal. They didn't give him what he promised. He's gone. So that's kind of the new age of NIL. So as Vandy navigates the NIL market, as they kind of get their collectives together and figure out what kind of budget they're going to have for NIL purposes, they've got to be able to know exactly what they're promising, who they're promising it to, and they're going to have to deliver, because once you get that reputation, it's going to be hard to recruit, especially out of the portal when you pull that kind of move. So this is getting interesting. So is Matt Sluka somebody Vandy should go for? Okay, given that regardless of the situation, I think it's a very terrible situation as far as NIL goes. Don't overpromise and not deliver. But should they go after Matt Sluka? I think, you've got to figure out what your best fit at the quarterback position is. And to do that, you have to evaluate what you have on the roster versus, hey, we have 3 games of Matt Sluka at UNLV when we have a whole season's worth of him at Holy Cross. We know what he can do. Is it worth bringing in? So you evaluate your roster. So what has Nate Johnson brought to the table? Well, he's extremely raw talent, can run. He's perfect for Tim Beck and Jerry Kill's offense. He's still very raw in the passing game, so I think there's much to improve on there. So if you're looking for a quarterback that can help you, when you compare the options to, let's say, a Matt Sluka, because I think he's going to be kind of on the table for a lot of teams, and Vandy may not end up getting him anyway, even if they want him. But when you compare him to the other options, like, okay, we know what, you have his attributes. He's more of a passer that can run. Nate Johnson's more of a runner that can pass. And so you look at it that way. Okay, so you got him. Then you got Drew Dickey, who, for all intents and purposes, has won the quarterback 2 job. He's kind of in that QB2A to QB2B type scenario with Nate Johnson. And then you've got Blaze Berlowitz, who I don't know that he'll ever break the threshold of starting, and he may end up actually hitting the portal himself. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that, to go find him a place that he can kind of step in and be able to play and be able to get some looks there. Then you have the 2 freshmen, St. Hilaire and Muschamp, Jeremy St. Hilaire and Jackson Muschamp. And you look at what they bring to the table. Now, all we've heard is from scrimmages, and all we've got is high school tape to evaluate there. But I think their skill set, both of those guys, are amazing. I think Muschamp is similar style of play to like a Diego Pavia, where he, the leadership qualities, the fire, the passion, the toughness, he's probably not as gifted physically as a quarterback, a pure quarterback, as Jeremy St. Hilaire, but he's somebody that is gritty and will put the team on his back, and probably, if he won the job, would win it just, the same way Diego Pavia won it. He just goes out there and you just know he's going to perform. St. Hilaire, very smooth, very, one of those fast but looks effortless guys. Not fast, but he can run a little bit, and he's one of those guys that just kind of jumps off the page at you as a quarterback prospect. He's long, 6'4", throws a good ball, throws a good deep ball. Somebody that I think could push the ball down the field vertically, and really kind of get Vandy to that next level of their scheme, and try to figure out that next layer of, okay, well, he can run a little bit, we'll get him involved, but really, he's gonna be a passer, and it's gonna be kind of similar to what. Now, don't jump off the page here and say, "Oh, you're comparing him to Trevor Lawrence." It's going to be kind of similar to what Trevor Lawrence did at Clemson, as far as the way they used him, where they used him in the run game, and he was highly effective, but he's a good passer. He's going to make his. He's going to do his damage in the passing game more so than anything. Quick game, vertical stuff, things, shot plays, and whatever. So to answer the question, do I think it's Matt Sluka? I think they give a look to him. I think they have to do their due diligence and kick the tires on that to see what he has to offer, to see what other teams are involved in the mix as well. I think you have to make a run for him, because Clarkley has to win now. Okay. And he can't afford to have a completely down year where maybe Nate Johnson's not as good as we thought, or maybe St. Hilaire is not as good as we thought, or Drew Dickey, or whatever the case may be. He has to look at every possible option and decide what his best feel is. Does that mean bring in Sluka to compete in the spring and see what happens and see who transfers, and you're probably going to lose a few guys? If that's the case and he wins the job, so be it. Like this quarterback market, this quarterback race stuff is get the best guy that you can get. And do I think Matt Sluka is a bad guy for leaving UNLV in this situation? No. I mean, I think if you looked at a bunch of other people, they would do the same thing. They would leave in a similar situation. Just imagine people getting mad at you for leaving, for taking a massive pay cut when you were promised one thing and you got delivered a completely different and significantly lesser deal. Nobody in their right mind would take that. And he's just a kid. It's the college, But if you're offered if you're promised $100,000 and you get out there and they lie to you, and they try that, it's not good, right? And they're trying to do that with everybody. They're trying to scam these quarterbacks, to put it mildly. And a lot of teams, promise things and they can't deliver for one reason or another. So this whole deal of like quarterbacks moving around, you're about to see a lot more movement with quarterbacks based on money and based on opportunity and all that stuff. So all I got to say is buckle your seatbelt. So to answer the question, I don't know. I still don't know if the quarterback is on the roster already. I think it could be a wild card. I think it could be St. Hilaire could jump everybody and be the quarterback next year. I think it could also, wouldn't shock me if it was Nate Johnson, because I think if he's got to make some significant leaps in his development, because right now he's kind of stagnant. He's kind of stuck in the mud. And so I just, you just got to kind of see where it winds and twists and takes you. So this is going to be an interesting season. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where Sluka ends up, because everybody's going to be making a run at him, especially since he's a notable target in the portal. But I know that Vandy is finally becoming a player in the quarterback game, and that's very important. And they've got their first commit for the 2026 class, which I don't know that they normally can recruit 2 years out. Like, I don't think that's been their style, really, to get big time commits like that. Michael Mitchell is going to be a special quarterback there for the 2026 class. Look forward to bringing him in. We'll look at that here next. All right, this episode is presented by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Let me repeat that. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Man, can you believe that? Well, that's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, welcome back. It is the Locked On Vandy podcast and the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you to you everydayers. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. So looking forward to what this season brings for Vanderbilt football and for this podcast. And without you guys, none of this could be possible. So, but we're talking about quarterbacks. Is the quarterback is the 2025 starting quarterback for Vanderbilt on the roster right now, or is it somebody out in the portal? At this moment, I'm gonna take roster. But again, that could all change, and that could all be wiped away. But one thing I am excited about is the fact that Vanderbilt got a commitment from the 2026 class, their first commitment from the 2026 class. That's quarterback Michael Mitchell. You gotta love this pickup here, and this is somebody I'm fired up about, because this guy's a playmaker. He's smooth. He throws a really good ball. He throws a really good deep ball. He's accurate. He can run. He's kind of like the best of both worlds of being a great passer and being Diego Pavia. The thing is, he only stands 5'11". He's 175 pounds, so he's not very big, but that's the only thing that's keeping him, I think, from being having higher accolades. He completed 65% of his passes for almost 3,000 yards. He threw for 31 touchdowns and is also a dual threat guy as well. He can run. He's a 5.73 star. He's a 28th best player at the quarterback position. He's the 42nd best player in the state of California, which, if you know anything about California, being in the top 100 in California is a pretty big deal because California is a talent-rich state. He hails from the San Francisco area, Riordan High School, and again, he's a rising. He's a junior right now, not a rising junior. He is a junior, and his highlights are absolutely incredible. This guy's exciting, and I think it's great that Vandy's done really well so far in the high school quarterback market, getting those guys on campus. They may not need another transfer. They may start to build a pipeline here of high school quarterbacks that develop and take the job and just kind of roll through it. But he was, he was all-state. He set a bunch of records and really, really good quarterback. Just the way he takes his drop, the way he releases, it's all very, very smooth. Puts it right on the money. I mean, if you want to treat, go watch this kid's highlights. Okay, just watch them. And I wish I could show them to you, but I don't own the video, so I don't feel like I can. Type or quite show you this stuff. But just throwing the ball into traffic, right, and putting it where only his guy can get it. Again, the poise in the with adversity, with somebody barreling down on you in a pass rush. Just very decisive is what I've noticed as well. In the passing game, he's somebody that doesn't hesitate and doesn't try to doesn't get lost. If he knows where he wants to go with the ball, he's going to go there, and that's the decisiveness that you need to play in this league. Also, somebody when the play breaks down, he can get out on the perimeter and really make it happen and really make you pay for pursuit. He's somebody that if he needed to, he could tuck that thing and run, but he's not a run-first guy. He wants to throw the ball. He wants to get the ball down the field, and he's not one of those guys that's going to run around for 20 minutes and try to find a run lane and things like that. He's gonna use his speed to get him out of trouble, but he's going to use his arm and his accuracy to get the ball down the field to where it needs to go. But love this commitment here. I think it's going to be the first of many. Anytime you can get your quarterback on board early, that's a big deal, and that's something that can kind of set the pace and set the tone for the rest of the class. He's somebody that can kind of go out and say, okay, hey, I want these receivers. Hey, I know this guy and this guy. Let's work to bring these guys in. So this is I think this is a really amazing get. People are going to say that he's 5'11", so like, what does he really have to offer? But I mean, Bryce Young won the Heisman at 5. I don't even think he's 5'11". I think he's shorter than that. Russell Wilson is 5'11", and he's listed at 6'1". There's a lot of creativity in this scheme to take advantage of whatever different heights of your quarterback. I mean, the quarterback that everybody's going crazy over, Diego Pavia, he's not quite 6 foot. So he's, this is something that can often be overblown, but man, like this guy just creates plays. He's he's a guy that's just outstanding in what he does. And he's going to, he shows good leadership qualities as far as what I can see on tape. That would be something you would have to talk to his coaches about, but the way the guys go up and compete for the ball in the air, the way they want to come down with it, and of course you're going to say personal stats get involved in all of that, but these guys go out and fight for him. These guys, when he takes off running, they're blocking downfield. They're excited when he scores. You can see the sideline reacting when he makes a good play, good throw. Teammates seem like they trust him. They're going to run their routes full speed, knowing, hey, he can actually get this ball to me, and he's going to get to me very accurately in the red zone. I mean, he's shown that at least at the high school level in his region, the San Francisco area, whatever region, whatever district, or whatever league he plays in California, he's just proved that he can help his team and help lead his team to wins and things like that. So I'm very interested to kind of see how that translates at the college level when he gets here, what this Vandy team looks like when he gets here. Hopefully it's a team that's trending in the direction that I think that they can trend in. And so this is going to be a fun quarterback to kind of watch as this develops. I can't wait to see his senior year next year as well, and how he finishes out his junior year, and just kind of see what he brings to the table. But this is a really, really, really good commit. Michael Mitchell, class of 26, quarterback out of Riordan High School in San Francisco, California. Great get for Vandy. This is going to be a fun one. But Vandy's going to have to win some games if they're going to continue recruiting at a high level. They're going to have to, I think some of the wins that are out there on the table, Kentucky's definitely one of them. They play Ole Miss. How do they stack up? We'll talk about that next. All right, talking about PrizePicks. Right? PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePick is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you need to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings just roll in. Caleb Williams passing yards gets you one win on PrizePicks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on PrizePicks because it's only gone when September ends. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. This is clutch, so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your picks are still alive. PrizePicks, that's a tongue twister. So PrizePicks invented the flex play as well, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LockedOnCollege and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LockedOnCollege on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, welcome back. It is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you, everydayers. Thank you. Make sure you check out Locked On SEC next as your next listen. Make sure you check him out. Chris Gordy has done a phenomenal job in this whole thing. So he brings this whole league together, and he does the Lord's work. So, and I say that very sarcastically. They have an SEC squad. They come out with episodes, I think, every Thursday. So that's a lot of fun as well. We all kind of get together and chop it up. But wanted to get an early look at Kentucky because I think there's games out there, and I did an episode about Vandy having bowl aspirations, what teams they can get. We talked about Bama, an early look at Bama. Bama's really, really good. I think Vandy, if they're going to have a chance against Bama, just play hard and see where the cards fall. I mean, it's a free game. It's a loose game. It's a, hey man, like they're going to be heavily favored anyway. We're just going to go out and ball. That's what we do. So, but Kentucky, I think, is a winnable game. So I'd like to take an early peek at Kentucky because this is an interesting matchup as they go up against Ole Miss. Ole Miss, 17.5-point favorites, which I've been up and down on the fence as far as playing the favorite with Ole Miss, or am I going to take the points with Kentucky? Just kind of it all depends on just kind of what Kentucky team shows up, I guess, in this game. Because Ole Miss is very overwhelming when it comes to their offense, and they can really roll it on you pretty stoutly and pretty quickly as well. And can Kentucky handle that? I think is the key, and I think how they handle that is going to be based on how Vandy creates their game plan. Because if they can't handle it, then I think Vandy's got to take note of that and say, okay, well, Ole Miss, they did this, and this, X, Y, Z, because football is a copycat sport. So teams are going to try within their system to do something if it's successful offensively against a really reputable team. So the Wildcats would be a hell of a defense to do that on because they're one of the best defenses in the conference. They got NFL guys all over the place. But if they can kind of slow down Ole Miss's offense, they'll be really, really good. But again, is it going to be the Kentucky team that showed up against Georgia? Or is it going to be the one that showed up against South Carolina? The offense against Georgia was good, but it never really threatened to score. They could move it between the 20s, but couldn't really get things across the goal line. Against South Carolina, they were downright awful, the offense. And the defense kept them in it for as long as they could. But, man, that was a game where you're just like, what did I just watch? And so it just depends right now on what Kentucky team shows up because, they're two different teams. They're a little bit inconsistent. They can be really great one week and really bad the next. So you hope that you kind of catch them on a downswing, but you never really truly know. And to be honest, I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of focus there because it is Vandy, or it'll be Vandy when they play it. But one of the things that I really liked about Kentucky and what they do offensively, they've got to figure some stuff out because I don't know what their identity is. I don't know what they're trying to do or what they're trying to accomplish offensively. But I do know this: Barryon Brown, which if you lock down the state of Nashville, have that old school Miami recruiting tactic. If you lock down the state of Nashville, you would have gotten Barryon Brown. But Barryon Brown is probably one of the fastest people in the entire conference. He came from Pearl Cone, and he's somebody that if you let him get loose, he gonna get you, right? But this is one of those games where Kentucky has a chance to slow things down, kind of make it muddy a little bit. If they can get Ole Miss into their style of football, which is slugfest in the mud. There's not really any mud because they play on turf, but if they can get them in a muddy slugfest, Kentucky can win. They have a chance. They have a chance to win. They've been just kind of defensive team, punch you in the mouth over and over again, just beat you into submissions, club you, things like that. But if they allow Ole Miss to get rolling defensively, they can get in a lot of trouble. And if their offense decides they want to start turning the ball over, sputtering, lots of 3-and-outs, not many plays, you could also see a situation to where Kentucky just gets ran out of the building in this game against Ole Miss. So it's really just kind of trying to figure out where Kentucky's going to be, trying to project where they're going to be by the time Ole Miss rolls into Lexington because, again, this defense is really, really good. But I feel like this team just overall is a bit of a roller coaster right now because they're really honestly just trying to figure out each other. Their offensive line's pretty bad. At the quarterback position, Brock Vandegrift just hasn't gotten off the ground as he had hoped or as fast as he had hoped. And this team, Vandy's defense can really affect the game a little bit, and they can really kind of take over and get themselves good field position. They can put pressure on Brock Vandegrift, get him to turn the ball over. If they can shut down the run game and the run game up the middle, the inside run game, they will be in really good shape against Kentucky. And this is one of those games where now you watch how Kentucky played against South Carolina. You watch how they played against Georgia, and probably one of their biggest, most jacked up games that they've had because they had the number one team on their own home field at the big grocery bag. You look at kind of the emotional letdown after that game. It'll be interesting to kind of see what they do in this Ole Miss game. Do they keep that same level of intensity? Is it a letdown after that? Is it, because they played Ohio right after that, but this is their first conference game since they played Georgia. So are they going to get back up for it, or are they going to be kind of in a fog a little bit, or are they starting to kind of figure some things out? That's going to be interesting to see kind of how they project, because this Ole Miss game is going to tell us a lot about where Kentucky is mentally and give us an idea of how fast they could possibly recover, because they'll recover. Mark Stoops is a good coach, and those guys believe in him a little bit, but it's going to be fun to see kind of how this shakes out, because again, it's a game that Clark Lee should win. It's a game that he can win, and it's a game that's important if he wants to go to a bowl. So I'm very excited about it, and I think you can kind of circle that one on the calendar as, hey, this is one that Vandy can get, right? And you asked me, and I got a comment that said, "Oh, really? Bowl game?" Well, here's what I challenge you. Where are my losses? Okay, Bama, Tennessee, Texas. Okay, then the rest are toss-ups, right? Kentucky is your first one. Ball State, obviously. That one should be automatic, but it's not. And then LSU. I don't believe in LSU whatsoever. And then Auburn. Auburn is a dumpster fire right now. They're in a bad spot, man. South Carolina, that's a winnable game, but they're playing some really good football right now, so that might be more tough than originally thought. And Shane Beamer might be doing a better job than everyone originally thought he was, but he has a tough schedule, so I don't know that he has a bunch of guaranteed wins. So I think Kentucky's a winnable game. I think psychologically they're a little bit broken because they're just so inconsistent that I think you can really kind of get some advantage over them, get some ground over them, and just kind of figure out and weasel your way into this matchup, kind of like you did against Missouri, but with a less talented team than Missouri. So, but that's all we got. We're gonna round out this bye week tomorrow. We're gonna look at some more opponents, some more wins, and why. Again, I think Vandy can win and get to a bowl game. But until then, we'll see you back here better than ever. Anchor down, behave yourselves. Peace.